Hi, and welcome to how to create a transaction in the new Authentisign web forms. When you're in the Authentisign web forms main page, you're going to notice here on the left-hand side, there's an option to create a transaction. So when you want to create your new transaction, you can simply click on this button, and it's going to give you this pop-up box. It's going to allow you to start inputting the information into the system to create your transaction. Now, there's actually two different ways that you can create a transaction within Authentisign and Stratus, and I will show you the second one after. What you're going to do is come in and just start naming all of the different information that you need, and then select the template that you've created in order to apply all of the paperwork for that particular transaction. If you haven't created the templates yet, you can also add the forms individually, which I will show you when we go in, but I would recommend that if you haven't, that you go back, watch the video on creating the templates and get that set up first, because that's going to save you a ton of time. So in this instance, let's just pretend that we're doing a buyer package. So what I'm going to do is select my buyer freehold package here. And then this select source would mean if, for example, you had the MLS number of the property that you're putting the offer in on, you could then select the source, which would be, in our case, the Toronto Real Estate Board. Select the type of property, a freehold property, and then input the MLS number. So if I open up my Stratus here, you're going to see that I have the listing open, and I can just copy the MLS number from here and come back into my Authentisign, and I can paste it. And what that's going to do is have the system pull the data from the Toronto MLS into your Authentisign transaction kit for you. Now, you want to make sure that you're registered as the cooperating salesperson, and it's up to you if you want to use the wizard or not, but I am going to go through using the wizard because it is simpler. And then I'm going to just come up to this top right button and hit create. And what that's going to do is create a new transaction kit for me, named the way I've named it. I recommend naming it by the address and your client's name, especially in case you end up doing more than one offer with this property. So when you come in, what you're going to notice is you're going to see all of the information. Here's the name of the kit. I can change it or edit it if I want to, so that I can find it easier later on. I can select what type of transaction, where in the phase it is, if I want to do that. And more importantly, what I want to do is come down here and look at this wizard section. So what you can do here is actually go through and fill in all of this information in the wizard, and it will populate onto your agreement of purchase and sale and your other forms and documents. So, for example, frontage direction did not pull off the MLS listing. I could come back to the listing, find where it says the direction of the fronting on, which is the west side, go back to my kit, and then I can just fill that spot in. So I can actually go through and populate a lot of this first. For example, the property width, I can add in feet so that it shows up properly on the MLS as well. Your lot legal description, you can check here, and then you can start to put in your information. So I'm just going to type in single family residential. Your property inclusions, your property exclusions, your attached schedules, all this information, your purchase price. Maybe we're going to do an offer of $800 with a deposit of $50,000. Start filling these in, and as you go through, just keep clicking next up here at the top. You can even put in some of the information like your offer date. If you're submitting the offer tomorrow, you could select tomorrow's date, irrevocable perhaps, and so on and so forth. The closing date you're selecting, you can fill all this information in. And it is better to do it now so that it does just populate on the system later on, like for you, so that you don't have to redo this on your paperwork. Okay, and then I'm just going to keep hitting next. And now it's going to take me through to all of the contacts required for the agreement. So I'm going to make sure that this is all correct. So I have Fegding as the seller, myself as the cooperating salesperson, Keller Williams Realty Centers as the cooperating brokerage. They're there twice. I don't really know why. So I'm just going to actually delete one of those. And then they're also there again as the listing brokerage, which is incorrect. So I'm going to be deleting them there as well, so I don't have to fix that later. Listing salesperson is Molly Lee. Now, you could add in the brokerage as the listing brokerage, or you can just fill that in as you go. Now I'm going to hit next again, and I'm going to see all of the paperwork that I have needed in order to set this up. So what I can do from here is just start getting the paperwork filled out and signed. So at this point, you've probably already got your buyer representation, you're working with the realtor, your FinTrack, all of that organized. But if you don't, you could also at this here, click open, and it will take you into the document just by clicking on it, and you can start to populate all of the information. Now you're going to see a lot of it's already going to be here, but not everything is. So I'm just going to fill this out as if it's my client. I don't need all of this information, and make sure that all of my dates and everything are correct. And then that will just sit in my system, and I can send this to my client, Matt, as I go through. Once I've finished my buyer representation agreement, I can click on transaction forms at the top here, and then I can open my next document and my next document all the way through my agreement of purchase and sale, confirmation of cooperation 801. And I'm going to just fill out all of these forms. So if I open up my agreement of purchase and sale, and I've built this in my template system already, which I have, when I open it, it will populate the form, and you're going to see a lot of the information is already populated from the MLS listing agreement, as well as from information I've plugged in into the template. So I can just go through and fill out the additional information here. Pretty sure it's Town of Aurora. My feet showed up here because I edited them. The legal description, my price is already here. My deposit's already here. I'm just going to select upon acceptance. Now the listing brokerage information is not here because we didn't have them added as in a contact. But if I go back to my Stratus MLS, I can just scroll right down here, and I can copy it and go back to my Authentisign, and I can just paste it into the system here. It has my B&C, it has my irrevocable. I just have to put in my time. It has my completion date because I've already filled all of this in the other system. I'm going to want to add in the listing agent's email address. If you don't know what it is, a great shortcut for this is to go back to the MLS listing, just click on the agent's name at the bottom, and then you can usually get their email there. Now, obviously, you're going to verify with them that this is the correct email, but usually it is because this is the email they're getting their information from TREB from as well. Now, your chattels included, if we had filled that out, they would be showing up here as well. Same with your hot water items, your HST. All of this, our title search has already showed up, single family residential, because I've already input this information. Now, if I keep scrolling through, we'll notice down here that the brokerage information is also missing. So again, I'm just going to come and I'm just going to copy this. But you could, like I mentioned, add them in as a contact in that contact section, and then you wouldn't have to do this part of the process. The good thing is, because the Stratus listing is open and we're just copying pasting, it really doesn't take very long to get it done. And then onto the Schedule A. Now, because I had made the template previously and I had already input all my clauses, they're already existing here. So I don't even have to worry about adding in the clauses. I just have to make sure that they're all the correct clauses that I want, and then I'm not missing anything. Now, one of the tricks that I like in this system as well is changing the font. So I generally dislike the look of this font. So what I'm going to do is just come up here to where it says fonts, go to style, and I'm going to select Times New Roman because I just prefer how that looks. And then another thing I highly recommend is numbering your clauses. It's easier from a reference point for the other agent. It's easier for you. You can go through and edit that all the way down and add in those numbers. Make sure you edit your dates on your conditions. And then this form is complete. So it gets that quick filling out an agreement of purchase and sale. And of course, you can add in any additional clauses that you need to here for this particular property. Once you're done, you just go back to transaction form and you can fill out the additional documents the same way. Once everything is complete, then that's creating your transaction kit. So it is a pretty straightforward process. You just want to make sure that you've got the whole thing filled out appropriately so that you get paid, and then the information will show up that you have pre-populated. So you will have to fill in a couple of blanks here and there, but it's pretty intuitive. And then the next step is going to be to go and get the documents that you need. So what I'm going to do is just exit here. It does auto save, so don't worry. I'm going to exit here. I'm done with all the forms and filling out what I need. So now I'm going to hit the next button, which is documents. Now, right now, I don't have any documents added to this kit because I didn't have any in the template that I created. But what I could do is go here to add, and then I could add files from my computer. So if you have the listing brokerage's Schedule B, you could attach it this way from your computer. You know, our COVID forms you'd want to attach here as well, our Schedule C and all that sort of stuff. So I'm just going to select those files off my computer. I don't have the Schedule C, so we'll just pretend that this is it. And I'm going to hit open, and then these are going to get attached into my system, and you'll see them right here. And in the signing section of this process, you'll be able to fill this out more if you haven't done it already. Okay, so once you're done filling out all of your documents, I'm just gonna hit done here, and now I've completed my wizard. So what it looks like when I've completed my wizard is that my transaction information is here. Here's all my additional documents I've added. Here's all of my paperwork that I've completed. And once it's all filled out and ready to go, my next step is just going to be to send it to my client to get it all signed. And that's really the process of creating a transaction kit in Authentisign. It is a lot easier, like I said, if you do the templates first, because as you saw there, it saved a lot of time. I didn't have to add in clauses and things of that nature. Now, if you don't have the template kits made, I'm going to kind of show you that process as well so that you can see what that looks like. So the other way that you can create a transaction kit is to come into Stratus MLS and open up the property that you want to create the offer on. So let's say that we come here and take a look at these updated listings. And I'm going to say that I want to do an offer on this listing at 34 Batson. So I'm just going to open up this listing. And then see here at the top, this is the great part about all of the programs being integrated. You're going to notice it says Web Forms and Authentisign. So if I click on this, it's going to actually take me into Web Forms and Authentisign, and it's going to automatically prompt me to create a new transaction kit right from that system based on this property. Okay, so this is another shortcut you can do instead of coming out of Stratus and then coming into Authentisign if you already have the listing open. So what you're going to see is it's going to have the address name, and then you could put in the client if you want to. This is an example for when you don't have a template made. So I'm going to select none as a template here. Property type, I'm going to hit residential sale. And then here's all my information again, Toronto Real Estate Board, freehold property, and I'm selected as the cooperating agent. So that's all correct. And now I'm going to hit create. So the first part of this section is going to be the same as when you had a template built. You're just going to go through the wizard and fill in all of the information that is currently missing that you would want to put on your offer. And that's all going to stay the same until we get to the forms section. So again, with the contacts information, I'm just going to make sure that everything is accurate. So Barb is the listing, Gloria is the seller, I'm the cooperating, we're the cooperating brokerage, Marl is another listing salesperson, or Marcel, and Remax is the listing brokerage. Perfect. We don't have to change anything there. And then I'm going to go to the next page. Now, this is because we don't have a template set up. We don't have any forms in our kit yet. So this is where we need to add our forms. So the great thing about this is with the two new merging systems, all of our office forms are now available to us within Authentisign Web Forms as well. So what I'm going to do is just come up here to where it says add. I'm going to click on that button, and it's going to give me the option of all the forms I have access to. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to this top one, Keller Williams Realty Centers, and I'm going to select any of the forms that make sense to me. So for example, I can add the transaction sheet here because it will actually start to auto-populate the information and save me a ton of time. I could add my buyer agreement if I had a side agreement with my buyer, and any other, my service commitment if I wanted to. And if it's a listing, obviously we're going to be using a lot more of these, and the COVID forms will hopefully get added in here shortly so that you could also just add your COVID forms directly from here as well. Once you're done with the office forms, you'll notice that see this basket in the right, it's showing that I have one form attached. So now what I'm going to do is go to my next set of forms that I need. So I'm going to say my FinTrack forms if I don't already have them completed, and I'm going to add my individual identification record and my receipt of funds into the basket as well. Now that one is turned into a 3, I don't have to add and exit. I'm just going to go back to individual forms again, and I'm going to scroll all the way down so we now have access to the paperwork of all these different boards. I'm going to scroll all the way down, and I'm going to go to the Toronto Real Estate Board, because that's the board that we're working under. And now I can add in the other documents that I need. So I need my 100 agreement of purchase and sale. I can select that and add it. If I know the numbers of the forms, I can simply plug the numbers in, and I can select those documents as well that I need. And once you've gone through and selected every form you need, you're just going to hit add. And what that's going to do is now add all of the forms into your transaction kit. So this is why building the template in advance is obviously a lot faster. We don't have to do this entire step. We can just skip it and start filling out the forms. The next thing you're going to do is select on the actual forms and start filling them out. And you are going to notice that the information from the Stratus MLS listing sheet will populate, but all of that extra information that we had added in, the price, the deposit, when we did it with the template, that won't be here because we're not using a template format. Your clauses also won't be here. So if you need to add in your clauses, what you're going to do when you're finished filling this out is come down to your Schedule A. Make sure you select the box first or it won't work. And then you're going to go up here to the top where it says clause. When I click clause, it's going to give me access to all of my own personal clauses. And if you were a Web Forms user and you had clauses that you had under your own personal section, they will populate here again now. I have all the access to all of the office clauses, the consolidated clauses, the commercial, the residential, and then obviously the system clauses as well, all of our standard clauses. So you can find every single clause that you need in this section. So what I would do is come to the clauses. I would go to my office clauses, select my consolidated, and I know it's a Schedule A1 residential because that's the type of property. And so I'm going to select the one that Christine created, and then I'm going to select my A6 and V because that's all my warranties, representations, and so on. Now again, you're going to see I have 2 in the basket, so I'm just going to hit OK. And it's going to pop this up because there's too many clauses to fit on one page. So do I want to add an additional page? Yes, I do. Okay. So what that's going to do is it's going to add an additional page to the agreement of purchase and sale. And you're going to see now that this what this looks like. However, when I come to this section, be conscious here, because this bar means that all the clauses aren't going to fit on the one page. So I'm still going to need to cut some of these clauses off and move them down to the second page, so that I can fit everything, because if I don't do this, so what I did there was selected and cut, and now you'll notice that gray bar is gone because all my clauses fit on this page. If I don't do this, when I go to send it to my client or I go to print it or the other agent goes to print it, you're not going to see the clauses that didn't fit onto the first page. So now I've just pasted those clauses back onto the second page, and now I have all my clauses in the same place again. Okay. And again, you can go through, you can change the fonts, make it look a little better, number the clauses and that whole process. And then this transaction is done as well. So there are multiple ways you can approach creating a transaction kit within Authentisign and Web Forms. I do highly recommend creating your templates first. It saves you a ton of time. As you can see, it's much more cohesive and it's clearer, but you can do it either way, whatever makes the most sense for you. So I hope that was helpful, and thanks for tuning in.